It is Saturday night once again. This is what are we calling this thing? Overnight mouse party?
That's
Something like that.
The bracket show, because every week there's a bracket. That's what I heard the motto was.
Tonight we've got gun websites. How's it going, G-Webs?
Good. I've been practicing all week for the bracket. I've been in training for the bracket, and I've been thinking about nothing but the bracket this evening. Can't wait for the bracket.
Giz or Gary, how you doing?
Hello. What's going on?
Guns Barbecue, how you doing?
Doing all right. Much like you guys have been training for the bracket, a lot of bench pressing brackets and squatting brackets, shot putting brackets, all kinds of awesome exercises with brackets. I'm ready.
I didn't do any kind of leg bracket work. I figured I'd be sitting down for this bracket. I think I might have messed up.
I figured the only exercising would be mental.
I'm screwed.
So let me get the banner going. At the bottom of the screen is an email address on tacticalfoss@gmail.com and a link for the Discord server. You can send in comments, suggestions, pictures. Discord's a place to hang out, chit chat, share memes and pictures and whatnot. You can get a hold of me there, and most everybody that comes on the chat, you can get a hold of them too, should you want to. And there's a link also for it in the description. And in the description, there's a link for a video from Law of Self-Defense. It's a lawyer, a self-defense lawyer. And that was kind of going to be the topic. Is he put out a video about national reciprocity and kind of talked how Trump said he would sign a bill if it came to his desk. And he said that's not really the way it should be done.
Is this that Washington lawyer guy?
No. They actually got in kind of a spat. Forget what his first name. Kirk. What the hell is his channel? I can't think of the name of his channel.
Washington Law Firm or something?
Gun law?
Washington Gun Law. Law of self-defense is another lawyer. Like I said, he's a self-defense lawyer. And I kind of watched him. I watched his coverage of the Baldwin trial. And it was kind of nice because he'll cover these trials, but he's dispassionate about the trial. So he's not emotionally invested in the outcome. So you get the view, it is his view of what's going on, but it's not, he wants a certain outcome to happen.
Would you describe your opinion of your bracket hosting as dispassionate?
Yeah. I don't know if I could say that.
I don't know. You seemed rather passionate last bracket.
I will say that in the bracket, there usually is, I will have a favorite, but I try to let
Three Musketeer.
Try to let the bracket progress naturally. Sometimes things happen, but yeah. And one of the examples he brought up was FOPA, where you can travel through a state with your gun, as long as it's in a hard case, separate from ammunition and all that, blah, 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 blah. But he brought up how anti-gun states basically ignore FOPA. And if national reciprocity was passed, they would ignore that too. And you could find yourself still going to trial to defend yourself, even if you're doing it legally, because that state doesn't like it. And he said what really needs to happen is the Supreme Court needs to rule faster on when a lower court goes against their ruling, because the Supreme Court is the Supreme Court. Every other court is inferior to them. So if they make a ruling, this is how you are to view this subject. These are the guidelines. If the lower court goes outside of those guidelines, then he said it needs to happen like within a week instead of within years. And then also said that if similar to when there's a 1983 suit for like when a cop gets sued for police brutality, it's usually under a 1983 suit. That's what allows them to be sued. And he said if something similar were to be enacted, even though that technically would cover, your any constitutional right, it's usually used for use of force. But he said if there was something similar to that specifically for gun rights, then the state governments, local governments, and the police would have to change the way they're doing it because of the suits. I don't think so. I left a comment saying the 1983 statute doesn't stop police brutality at all. It still happens, and you've got immunity. They're not really laws; they're interpretations. But the police having immunity shields them from a lot of this. It still can be overturned. That's, like I said before, I've been watching a lot of the Ninth Circuit stuff, and that comes up a lot, where they were granted immunity or not granted immunity. So one side or the other side takes it up to the Ninth Circuit to have them overrule the lower court. But I was just curious on what you guys thought about that. If you watch the video, in the end, he said the national reciprocity is a good first step. So he's not completely against it like he makes it seem at the beginning. But
you're ghosting
us,
stuff. So you gave us like 1,000 things to talk about, and then you were like, "So what do you think?" And then you need to ask us. So, but the last thing, I'm skeptical of national reciprocity because the federal government doesn't need any more power than it fucking has. So even when it's quote unquote for us, I don't like granting it authority that doesn't need or have. So I'd rather see the fight done on the state level. That being said, you do a lot of stuff, so I put some notes. We don't have to hit everything.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I didn't want to stop because I would forget.
Yeah, I didn't want to
points I wanted to make. But
going backwards, like I say, generally I'd rather not see national reciprocity. It seems like for all the reasons that guy said, I guess that it's not a given. It's not like just because the Fed say something, everybody's like, heck yeah, now we'll do what we didn't do before. All it does is give the federal government authority that it never had before.
Is it really giving authority though? Because I've heard you say that in the past, and I don't see how it gives the government any authority. The fact that
it says, hey, we can separate you. Yeah, okay, you can separate us, but do you need to be separating us for this? Like, go fuck yourself. Go sit down. That's what I'm saying.
How is
it's not so much
us?
authority. Well, it's saying
And say leaving it
saying
to
to those
50
states
different
that
states to
it's saying to the
trample
states that
on
don't
the
want
rights
to
of.
play together that you got to play together.
Well, no, because you're saying leave it to the states. So you're leaving it to 50 different states to say, oh yeah, you get all your other rights except this one when you come to our state, or another state says you get this right, but you don't get this one. Like that's
Yeah, and when a state does that, it's not the only option isn't the federal government to change it. So let's say it's New York, because that was an easy one to pick on, or being dicks. So other states can go, hey, guess what, New York? We're not working with you on this, this, and the other thing until you start working with the rest of the world on this.
Well,
And
is
now states deal with it, is what I'm saying. Like it does. I'm not saying it's okay for them to be dicks, but it's okay for them to want to be a dick. It's okay for the other states to pressure them. I don't think the federal government has to pressure everybody all the time just because we sort to like, we didn't get our way, we're going to the federal government. No, let's do other things.
the states' right issue is, I've heard in the past, people who were against national reciprocity, because they saw it as taking away some states' rights. I see it more as, yes, I believe in state rights. Each state should be able to do some stuff. But when it comes to the Constitution, each state that joined the Union, basically agreed to abide by the Constitution.
exactly.
So it supersedes state rights. DJ, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going better and better, man. How are you?
I'm doing all
So
right.
you could say that all you want, but then when someone says the Constitution says this, and then someone else says the Constitution says that, boom, now you have two different interpretations of what the Constitution says.
Great. Then you get to take that one to the Supreme Court and let the Supreme Court decide it.
Yeah, exactly. We have a mechanism for that. It's just that I'm just saying the federal government doesn't have to come along and go, hey, let's separate everybody or make everybody play. Let's say,
are we going to wait another 20 or 30 years for hopefully a national reciprocity case to make it up to the Supreme Court? Perhaps this is the catalyst that pushes that to the forefront in the next 4 or 5.
Well, we went 170 years without anything touching the Supreme Court because we didn't need it. So again, I don't think the Supreme Court, the federal level stuff is our only options. It's just what the media points at all the time. And, that's like the cream of the crop. It's the tip of the spear. It's what gets talked about. But all the work gets done in the shaft of the spear. All the power comes from the grip on the spear. Like the point of the spear is just the first thing to make contact. And it's what gets talked about all the time. So it's easy. It's one thing. But
so if we're not going to take anything to the Supreme Court, we're going to leave everything to the states. How do you recommend we change states like Illinois, California? What was that?
Well, you're putting ultimatums out there that I didn't say. Just because I don't say the federal government gets main authority doesn't mean I'm removing the federal government. So I'd said that
you just dismissed the Supreme Court. You said we didn't.
You said the Supreme Court is going to take 20 years, and then said that I'm dismissing the Supreme Court when I really
you said we didn't need the Supreme Court. You said we didn't need the Supreme Court for 170 years. Those were your words.
We did not need the Supreme Court for 170 years for Second Amendment. Correct. So to suggest that, and you took that to say we don't need the Supreme Court, what I was saying is 170 fucking years. You acted like 20 years is going to take too long. Therefore, let's turn off everything and let's just give the government this extra authority. I'm saying no.
How is it giving them extra authority when they're giving us rights back?
They're giving us rights by taking the authority from states. They're telling the states to hold hands.
Again, the states are supposed to be subservient to the Constitution.
They're supposed to be worried about us. And when they're interpreting the Constitution differently, we have a mechanism, and you want that mechanism to happen immediately, therefore do this. And I'm saying, I don't care if it takes 20 years. Let the thing take 20 years. We took 170 years before it even became an issue. It doesn't have to be solved immediately. So if it takes 20 years, it takes 20 years. That's frustrating.
Well, then why do we talk about abolishing the NFA or ATF or anything like that? Why don't we just ride it out until, whatever happens.
Well, that's a different topic completely. Are you talking regulatory and
Well,
uh, what do they call it? Regulatory and enforcement of laws at the federal level, and now that's a totally different thing than what we were talking about reciprocity, which is state laws in conflicting with each other and with our rights.
reciprocity shouldn't be a state issue. It
Correct.
Again, the Constitution.
Because I am okay with it taking a long
Nationwide.
time and being messy doesn't mean I'm agreeing that it's not a state issue.
Gary or DJ, you guys can pipe in if you have any suggestions or ideas, opinions.
Yeah, 10th Amendment sometimes doesn't help us. It kind of obscures focus because it ends up confusing itself, and I think it also confuses citizenry quite a bit. And I don't think that many are even aware of that. And the federal government is able to get all kinds of things pushed through by coercion. The example that I'd like to use is the national speed limit. States didn't have to follow that, but federal monies that were set aside for each state's infrastructure for highways or bridges or whatever it might be was going to be withheld. So they kind of like stretch you out across the coals and see if you're going to jump. And I don't see other examples of that really since, but I haven't paid enough attention outside of those spheres. So, to me, like, let's just like chop it up about the 10th Amendment so that we kind of have a better place to go than to, like, I guess, where the part of the conversation that I've been present for has gone.
Gary?
Or not.
I'm trying to think. What's the 10th Amendment?
Those
The state
powers
stuff.
not granted.
I'm not a constitutional expert, so I'm not being intentionally obtuse here. I honestly don't know. So.
It's just at the end of the Bill of Rights. Like anything that we didn't say in the Bill of Rights is the state. Fuck the government. It's that one. Like anything that we didn't already talk about here is just to the states. Like they can figure it out. The Constitution was only for what we just said right here. Like it's not a growing root system that's going to start involving everything else, which it's kind of become. But with all those other amendments, they've added things to it and removed things from it. But essentially, it was the end of the Bill of Rights that said if we didn't write it here, then it's up to the states.
Well, going back to you and Guns Barbecue, your discussion about the Second Amendment and reciprocity, I definitely see merits on both sides of that argument. I really do. My concern is if it was anything else, let's say if it was the First Amendment that was being restricted in certain states or anything like that, would the federal government put up with that?
That's a pretty good example to use, Gary. I like that. I've never thought about it in that context because I sort of feel like part of the sentiment that you might have been expressing there. I want the states to be able to decide those things, but I don't want anything granted by by the Bill of Rights to be violable. It should be inviolable. So that's where that conflict comes in. This is really one of those points in discussing our government that does go back to the original document in ways that we don't expect it to. And like, G. Wibbs was making the 10th Amendment a little bit more clear. And I get confused by it. I don't, it's like the snake eating itself, or reverse that however you want to, or use a different analogy. But it takes away the confidence that we can have in the federal government, and it undermines our confidence in our states' government.
I mean, it's got a good purpose. I understand the purpose of the 10th Amendment, but on the other hand, when the states, and I'm thinking of a few select states here, have gun laws that are so restrictive, especially people traveling across the state and everything else, to where it basically denies the right to keep and bear arms. They are essentially denying the Second Amendment entirely in certain states. And when it's at that level, I hate to think that the federal government couldn't come in and enforce it at that point rather than having to wait for it to be taken to courts. I mean, in this case, they are taking something that was clearly delineated to us in the Bill of Rights and saying, well, in this state, you can't do that. Like I say, that's why I equate it to the First Amendment. If they say, well, the First Amendment doesn't apply in New Jersey, I don't think we'd put up with that for very long. So it's not just something minuscule we're talking about here. We are talking about something, like I say, that supposedly was granted. It's a basic human right. It was granted to us by God, according to the Constitutionalists and stuff like that. So, in that case, when a certain state denies that right to the people in that state or to people who travel through that state, then I hate to think that the federal government couldn't do something about it. Now, whether they should or not is a whole different deal entirely. But as far as being well within their rights to do it, I'm going to have to lean towards yes. I think it's within their rights.
Depends on
Well,
what
another
it is, what the reaction is, and again, if they've already had the right or not. So you can come up with any kind. We're just talking about guns right now, but you could talk about any weird thing and then come up with the state comes up with a rule to deny it, and then that gives the authority to the federal government to go heinous or to go tyrannical. Like that's the other side of the double edge of that one.
I wouldn't see it as, if they are upholding the Constitution, saying what you're doing is wrong according to the Constitution. That's not, to me, that's not being tyrannical. It's upholding the Constitution. That's what they're supposed to be doing.
They're upholding the majority's people's view of what the Constitution is. You don't have rights anymore if you don't agree with the interpretation of the Constitution. That's why we have a court. So you don't get the court involved anymore. Now you just say, nah, we don't agree with your interpretation of the Constitution. Off with your heads.
That's interesting.
Given then you go, okay, I think this religion can do this or something, and then somebody goes, hey, hold on, New York can't say that religion can do that or not. Off with their heads. Like it just becomes too much authority given to the government where they didn't need it. I asked the robot to say the 10th Amendment describe the 10th Amendment to a child, and it says, if mom and dad, the federal government, haven't said it's their job, then it's the kids, the states, to decide how to do. Then it's up to the kids to decide how to do stuff. So if the federal government is the parents and all the states are the kids, the parents said, we take care of these things, everything else you guys figure out. So if it's the chores, then again, like, okay, so-and-so isn't taking out the trash. Do we get the parents involved, and now the parents get involved with the trash and telling everybody who's to take out the trash? Or do the kids get together and figure out amongst themselves how to take out the trash, and how come Hawaii ain't never taken out the trash? So do you get the parents involved every time there's something going on with the kids, or can the kids figure it out for themselves? And that's all I'm saying is everybody wants to take this like, no, you're saying that it's okay for a state to be anti-constitution. Fuck no. I'm just saying that the kids are allowed to figure it out for themselves.
So
the
what do you
government
do
doesn't have
when
to get the sole authority to come in, and you don't have to give the parents the authority every time we have a discussion or a disagreement amongst ourselves. We don't have to have the government come in and say, here's the new law. Fuck that. We're allowed
So what do you do when?
hold
on. So what do you do when 10 out of the 50 kids say, "I'm not taking out that trash. Tough shit. Make me do it." And then they just never take out the trash. So then there's 40 kids that are doing all the work. 10 kids are never doing anything. Are the
So do you
parents never
give up
supposed to step
after you've
in?
tried once, or do you give up after you've tried 30 times? How many times have we
Or do
tried?
you just or do you just keep trying and trying and trying, get nowhere, and the parents just
How
never
many
step
times
in?
have we tried? How many times have we tried? Do you stop after the first time, or do you stop after the 30th time? And then the second question is, how many times have we tried? As the states, as the kids amongst ourselves, how many times have we tried to bully New York? I'm going to say, give me an answer. Like, seriously, like, we've never done that option.
You're the encyclopedia here, G Webs. You tell us.
I'm not aware of anything. That's what I'm saying. And I probably shouldn't say New York all the time because that makes us think of like specific things to New York. But Washington State, Nevada, all the wins that we've had were accidental. Like we've never figured out. And that's why I get so frustrated by the national level organizations that only go to the lawsuits, because that's only going to the authority of the federal government in the courts, which is a dumbass, like precarious way to be, since the courts are scary and nobody knows what they are and they're boring as shit. And they're so long, like, holy crap, like we got, what are they, appointed for our life or whatever? Like, it's just such a dumb place for us to, and it's probably why they exploit all those vulnerabilities to go hang out there, because nobody can check on their lawsuits. Nobody can verify. There's no, like, John Lott seeing if our gun owners' rights organizations are actually doing what they say they're doing. So anyway, without getting into all that tangent, like that's the frustration, is that if we keep using this analogy of the parents and the kids, nothing is out there trying to organize the parents. How many times have I fucking said over the years, like, what if we actually pressured New York to not be dicks? What if we pressured Massachusetts? How many people live there? How many people work with them? How many people have businesses that interact with them? Like, we don't have to
All right, let's
go.
use the parents analogy again. NYSERPA v. Bruin. Parents come down hard on the kids. What do? They rebel. Not just a little bit. Like they went hardcore with their rebel. So then what? Do we really expect them to ever get on board?
What was that again, though?
I said, so the NYSERPA v. Bruin decision comes down, and the parents, really whack the kids. They're like, nope, we're going to get you in line. This crap needs to stop. And what do? They rebel. That they throw this giant temper tantrum. They throw everything against the wall that they can. They go effectively exactly the opposite way that decision said. But then we're supposed to act like, oh, we can just pressure them into doing what we want.
Fuck yeah, dude. What are you acting like? There hasn't been social pressure to, fill in the blank, something you don't like, or something that annoys you, or something that's frustrating and stupid. Like, there's tons of social pressure. Look at that Pokemon Go. Paying attention to that game where everybody was running around with like a virtual reality overlay. Turns out they were just mapping the United States for that company, paying that company to map the United States for them. Like, there's all kinds of subtle social pressures.
I don't think that's social pressure at all. I think that's just tricking people into helping them achieve a goal by just letting them play a game.
No, the social pressure is the part where it turned into a social phenomenon, like a fad, and it went crazy. Well,
no, people just like Pokemon. I don't think that was really social pressure. It's not like a bunch of people are like,
oh, if you don't play this game, that's fine. That's a tangent, and you can pick at that example, but whatever the fuck.
No, because plenty of examples. If you don't play this game, we're not going to be friends.
I don't care, dude. Then that's not a great example.
Well, it's not necessarily. I will say not necessarily.
Examples of successful social pressure.
It doesn't have to be a negative. You could call it social pressure, social influence,
drunk driving, and fucking having a sober drive.
G-Webs, hang on. Let me finish my point. It doesn't. Social pressure can be viewed as a negative or a positive. You can do it in a positive way or in a negative way. If you look at the Every Second Matters, I think is a positive way to do it. That would be a positive. That's how I would view it. Positive social pressure. That's one of the reasons I really, really support that. Everybody, everyday people talking to other everyday people, because there's a lot of gun owners that aren't involved, and even people that, if you extend it to people who aren't gun owners, who don't understand about guns or rights or stuff, and that, you know, us as gun owners reaching out and explaining to them and hopefully getting them to understand, that's a positive social pressure. That's how I would view it.
Well, I agree. I mean, social pressure does work both ways. I'm just used to typically at least when you do hear about social pressure, it being more negative.
I'd say chaotic. I mean, usually negative, but not always. Again, there's healthy things. There's positive things for our awareness of, I don't know, like our own mental places. Like there's all kinds of stuff, like just the ability to understand like that you can go to restaurants and shit. Like there's, that you don't have to do the stuff there's all kinds of things that it can be beneficial for. But anyway, we're getting way off track. I think the idea is though that I think when this all started with the reciprocal or national reciprocity.
Yeah.
And I was saying that goes back to the parents to say, hey, make it so that they got to share. And I'm saying that the states can figure out how to make it so that we all share, even though there's the fundamental issue of our constitutional right or the constitutional rights of the third of the country that's in those states right now. I don't think that the only option we have available to us is to go to the parents and make them come up with a new rule. That's why I keep saying give them authority, give the federal government some new authority or some new like social credibility, or I think the best word is authority, that they get the right to tell the states what to do when it wasn't an issue until a bunch of the states started doing stuff and there was a conflict between what the states wanted to be able to allow or not allow.
Let me go real quick and say hello to people that are out in the chat. Vulcan Rumble is out there. 2 Live Moo, Gizzard Gary, Gun Websites, Garage Guy, Mr. Bob Davalina, and I think that's everybody that spoke up. Mr. Bob said the authority comes from the government permitting us to take action versus we the people having the right regardless of what the government says. And the Constitution is a legal contract adopted by the states to govern the country. The right to keep and bear arms is an enumerated right within that contract. Do you allow states to violate the contract? And I think that's kind of what we're discussing now, is how to get everybody to follow that contract. I don't know. So when you're talking about, are you states influencing other states, or I don't know if that will work. I mean, you would have to get all the states who, other than those 10 states or however many states, to put pressure on it, because each of those 10 states happen to be kind of the economic powerhouses of the country. So, because like California alone is, if it was a country, would be the 10th, would have the 10th largest GDP. I don't know about New York or New Jersey. So they can throw around a lot of weight. Anybody?
I mean, it sounds like a big deal, but damming up the Colorado River seemed like a big deal until they did it. Like everything seems like it's undoable until somebody does it.
I'm not opposed to trying. I'm not saying we can't do it,
I'm trying to think of I don't know where barbecue left, if he got disconnected or if he got sick of bullshitting about it, but trying to think of something like drunk driving that's not drunk driving, that maybe somebody got up on stage somewhere, or like, you know, the soapbox and petitioned everybody stops doing something or another. And there's been all kinds of things, I would think. I don't know. Something that's maybe chewing tobacco. Like at some point, it seems like if you watch an old movie, everybody was chewing tobacco and there was spittoons everywhere. Somebody probably got sick of that because of the spit, right? And I don't think there's ever been a federal law that said quit chewing tobacco, but people eventually quit chewing tobacco. So there are laws on the obvious crimes out there, but as crimes come along, or maybe not crimes, that's a bad way of saying it, because there would be laws against crimes, but as things come along that are rude or annoying or something, there doesn't have to be federal laws to prevent it that make it go away. And I think those mechanisms can be explored.
I think I understand a little better where you're coming from, because I was looking at it a little bit differently. But yeah, I would agree on not just piling law upon law upon law. If I understood what you were saying.
More than that, it's given the parents, you know, that federal level, that ability to say, here's another thing you can tell us to do. And I call that giving authority. Because it would. I mean, it's literally a bill, like another law at a federal level that would be on the list of gun laws. Just like the one, I don't know what you called it, but the Gun Owners Protection Act of 1986 is the one that made it so we could travel, I believe.
And I got to dig that out because I didn't know it was even referenced in that. I'm so far behind in some of that. I'm trying to keep track of it.
Yeah, it's not a big
one of the ways that coercive nature, the peer pressure point, I like parts of that. And I have two examples. One of them is a little bit potentially incendiary compared to the other. Syntax. Everybody knows that DJ smokes cigarettes and drinks Diet Dr. Pepper. The syntax on my cigarettes, both federal, state, and now local, makes me crazy. It's like when people get that shock at the pump when you first learn, how much the fuel really costs versus how much of the cost it is, per gallon that you're pumping in that's just taxed out. And it's crazy sometimes. Now, people might not have any sympathy because I have to pay extra tax for my sin of smoking. I understand the argument that if the government's going to do things like provide me services, if I'm ill, kind of thing, if I'm destitute and have lung cancer, whatever the hell it is, that's how I'm paying for the responsibility that I'm failing to take by being a healthy member of our country. And so I don't dig that. I get it, but that's that kind of coercion. So they could tax you out of something. And I've seen, more and more people, as the taxes increased, of course, the number of smokers decreased. Now you see people running around with their vapes. And that's the thing. If that stuff was taxed out at the same rate, they get rid of people trying to take in nicotine almost altogether, kind of thing. And social country like Canada. Canada's taxation on that very product is ridiculous. But the people that I talk to, the Canadians, say, well, that's that I know at least, have said, well, that's the way that we pay for our public health. It's like, okay, yeah, I get it. And there's an example right across the border. I don't believe, the last time I paid any attention or knew anything, Mexico didn't have anything like that. So, the North America Free Trade of Tobacco Agreement kind of thing, Canadians a little bit higher, states right there kind of in the middle, and Mexico can do as they wish.
Well, Mexico is a state in turmoil, so
no doubt
they've got other issues than healthcare. For
sure. And like the tests of it was earlier in the conversation, the tests of fear kind of thing. Something new comes along. We weren't doing this until we were all of a sudden doing it, or we didn't notice that we started doing it because for whatever reason. And what I was thinking there is, an example that came up in a conversation I had yesterday, and that was everybody was freaked out. We didn't have anybody other than a mainline Christian faith in the White House until Kennedy. It was all Christian. It was all like straight up, denominations, a bunch of Lutherans and Methodists and whatnot. So that was like a big deal. And I wasn't alive for that, but I was speaking with somebody who was, and I do understand for the things that I've seen, that's been very little to support what he was suggesting. And that was people were saying things like they didn't want the country to be run by the Vatican. Or is the nation going to go meatless on Fridays kind of thing? So I think there, within that single example, the tests of those fears, we don't know sometimes what's coming at us until it's already well entrenched kind of thing. And we need not worry a lot of times as much as we do. And we have that kind of, we want to swim upstream against our particular tweaks like the Second Amendment or the First Amendment or the 10th Amendment, if you're really into states' rights kind of thing. I'm glad that our country allows that. And I wish that there was a way, some kind of prognostication that could be made on these things, and people call on, the dead spirit of Jimmy the Greek to figure things out for them and lay their bets where they are. Well, I know where the guys on the panel and out there in the crew, out in the text crew, stand on that. We have to swim upstream against people who want to deny the Second Amendment. And so I pass it back to somebody else because that's starting to get really tangential.
Tim Allen's out there. Good morning. Yeah, go ahead.
I made another note from when you're ranting and giving us all those things to talk about. When you were saying about how if the Supreme Court says something or decides something, and then all the lower courts, well, I shouldn't say lower courts, but all the states do something in response, like they did for New York State Rifle and Pistol Association. They came up with all their what do they call it? Like reactions to that. That there should be some kind of quick reaction from the Supreme Court. That would mean that the antis would always have the advantage because you can always throw more rocks at a greenhouse than you can fix panes of glass. So you can always attack and cause frivolous reasons for the Supreme Court to have to do stuff, and you bleed the Supreme Court dry or take it to a standstill. So it's frustrating, but I think the way to address that isn't to yell at the Supreme Court or demand something different from the Supreme Court. And I'm no expert on this, but my opinion would be some kind of consequence to politicians for putting out bad law or disruptive law or law that's just there for political lawfare, where they do things just to fuck with the system because they don't have any consequences. They're not going to have to pay for it. Well, we know that they're getting rich and they're doing this to create gridlock and shit, and they're playing the system. They're playing like chess out of the pieces instead of using the pieces to do the job that they're supposed to be doing, right? They're fucking using the pieces politically. So have consequences for that somehow, and let what would that be? The representative branch or whatever deal with it themselves and force them to do it. I guess you'd have to force the executive branch to somehow do it, but I don't know how that works. But I'd say instead of expecting the Supreme Court or the court to do it because they're weak and they don't do any of that stuff anyway, and they don't have the resources, and I don't want a Supreme Court that has those resources, attack the people who are given the lower courts the ammunition, which is the stupid laws that are doing it, or the, what do you call those? The reactionary laws to fight what they don't like.
Or the lower courts, the district courts kind of reflecting on their own power and their own influence on those regions kind of thing. And there's no way, there's no denying that California drives the country when it comes to a lot of things. The reason we have all those warnings on stuff, it's not because every state wanted it, it's because the federal government wanted it. It's California passes laws that if you're going to do business here, you're going to do this. And that ends up being a new regulation. We all have to, the rest of the United States has to fall under that because of California. The district courts sometimes do show the influence of their region, kind of thing. You expect certain things to come out of the fourth. And I mean, I haven't been around long enough nor done enough study to know which ones are historically the more liberal regions, but it pretty much does, as far as I know, follow along with what we are safe in assuming. Like California is going to be more liberal, and here's how we can point to why. Or people in the Northeast are going to be a lot more reserved about something, and people in the Midwest are just going to go shooting straight down the middle of everything, kind of deal. There is some truth to that. I'm not making that a linchpin. Certainly, it just adds to the flavor, I guess. But lower courts are being influenced sometimes by their own. I'm having trouble coming up with the term. They just reflect on themselves and think that they're great enough to be able to influence something on a national level by not taking it as seriously and making the same kind of decisions that the Supreme Court would, so that the Supreme Court doesn't have to. It's like we can't rely on certain districts to do that sort of work, to put in those kind of judgments. And I got to rest right there.
Well, it would seem that it's more, rather than being influenced by they're put in place because of their opinions rather than they're taking on opinions from outside influence. That was when in Trump's first term, he appointed a lot of more conservative judges who have been ruling more conservatively. And in Washington, the people elected tend to be more liberal, so the judges they put into place tend to be more liberal. I think it's for lower courts, well, even for any appointed court, kind of swings that way.
And so there's
Ron
that
White?
pendulum swing sometimes, like you're talking about. Didn't mean to break up you introducing wrong. My bad.
No, yeah. Yeah, I wasn't expecting really to get into too much on this one. Pleasantly surprised.
Well, I don't have I don't love national reciprocity. Like I say, I don't think it's great, but I'm not going to be against it. I mean, if it does go in our direction, it's just that it's given the feds another boost that I don't think they need. And I'd rather I think there's more advantage to us as a community and a country if we figure out a different way around it, because then we give ourselves an inoculation. What's the word? Like we're inoculating ourselves to other abuse in the future if we figure out alternative ways to, resist this or defend against this or whatever the words are, like take this on.
I can kind of see that, especially if it gets passed. I think a lot of people will kind of start to relax because it was passed, rather than this is a foothold. Keep pushing from here on.
Although definitely that's an issue. I didn't even think about that. That's definitely a thing. But then also, as soon as the government figures out that all we got to do is put pressure here, and they'll literally fucking beg us to pull each other apart, then start applying pressure here, here, and here. Let's get some more power. You can only say this here. You can only go to this church here.
Yeah.
Now come to us and tell us to pull us apart.
I don't know. Have we beaten this topic to death, or
I think we solved it. I feel like we solved it.
I don't know if we solved it. Maybe gave people different ways to view the topic, I think. Hopefully,
I have. Most definitely. Already. Thank you for providing the forum.
I don't know. It was just, watching the Law of Self Defense, watching his video, and I didn't really agree with some of what he was saying, and so it kind of got me thinking. So I thought I'd bring it up and we could discuss it. Um,
Did you have a poll this week?
I forgot to put up a poll this week. I got doing some other stuff and forgot about it. So there's not a poll, but we could do a bracket. Hang on. I didn't bring up a bracket. The score count. So I was watching
Pork bracket.
captain's best captain. But I was watching a video on. They were talking about. I forget what website ranked Star Trek captains, and they added in some of the new Star Trek, which I refuse to acknowledge. But so that kind of got me thinking. Well, rather than just Star Trek, we can expand it out to other captains. So let me get the
like Captain Morgan, Captain Hook.
Well, let me open up here.
I'm your captain.
Nice.
Your captain.
Oh, there we go. There's that.
I'm getting closer.
Let me share this other screen first. We've got Captain Morgan. The drink, not the rum, not the pirate. Captain Planet.
Oh,
I never watched Captain Planet. I was
With our powers combined,
yeah.
we are Captain Planet.
Captain Quint
nice.
from Jaws. Captain Stubing.
Meryl.
Yes. Captain Underpants for the young, I guess somewhat younger. I don't know how. I never read them. I was an adult when these books came out.
Before my time, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a pervert.
Captain Ahab. He was dedicated to his job. Single-mindedly dedicated to his job. Captain America motorcycle. I'm not a Chopper fan, so I've never liked the look of. I liked the.
Is this the motorcycle or the dude from the movie?
The motorcycle. I liked Billy's better, his bike.
Mm-hmm.
Captain Hook.
Yes.
Captain Kangaroo.
Ah, there you go.
Oh, Keisha.
Hang on here just a second. Yeah, make just a second. Captain Marvel, the Billy Madsen Captain Marvel. Captain Nemo from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Captain America, the superhero. Captain Crunch. Captain Jack Sparrow. Captain Kirk. Captain Lou Albano, the dude in the middle. And I think that's the last one. The last captain.
So you pulled this whole list together? Or did you have assistants?
It was partially ones I thought of, and then I went on and put in captain and then just looked through a whole bunch and then picked out.
Obviously, you
That's-
should have had Captain Obvious in here.
I can think of one that I would thought it would be in here. Captain and Tennille.
Hmm.
Nice, Rich. It is a great list, though, Foss. It's fun.
It is very inclusive.
Well, as always, I tried to pick out ones that most people would know and are recognizable.
I'd like to petition to have the federal government have the authority to tell us if this list is inclusive enough or not.
I agree.
So I just needed to fill out the bracket. I wasn't sure if we were going to do one tonight, so I didn't pre-fill this bracket.
When in doubt, bracket.
Captain Ron.
Like the Devo song
So-
says, bracket up. Is Captain Long John Silver in here?
No.
Captain Barney Miller? Nice. That was a good one, too.
Captain Hawkeye Pierce.
Mm,
Yep. There we
I
go.
could see it. I could see it.
Oh, kind of. That's getting old enough for some of the younger folks might not know who that is.
Well, you put Captain Underpants in there.
Well, that was for the
About-
younger folks.
To balance it out, they get one.
Yeah. Well, because if it was any of the bracket participants would all be stuff from the 70s and 80s that, or 60s that most, probably half the people watching wouldn't know who they were.
I bet you if you went a generation back from us too, like there'd be so many naval captains that people knew that we don't even have any idea who they are.
Captain
Well,
John Paul Jones.
Book in the like reading books back in the day.
Captain Horatio Hornblower,
I thought about that one. Yeah.
but I don't think I don't
who
know
it
how
is.
many
I've heard the
people
name
would
a
know.
million times. I know I've heard the name. I don't know who it is.
And then I tried not to repeat genres. So there's only one Star Trek captain and stuff like that. I didn't want to have like 3 Star Trek captains and then 4 pirates, and tried to keep it diverse.
What's Captain Obvious? What is that?
Captain Obvious is a character in a series of television commercials for
Oh,
what is it? Some travel agency, Travelocity. Is that it?
okay.
That his picture did come up.
Oh, Captain Carl from Pee Wee's Playhouse. You forgot about him.
You already had Captain Kangaroo, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I tried to have the puppy nap earlier so that he'd be awake for the show, but obviously didn't work.
He's enthralled.
You can't tell him when to sleep. He'll sleep when he wants. He'll like it.
Oh, the captain of her heart. We forgot about that.
I can't forget it because I didn't know it. What the hell is Captain Heart?
Captain of her heart. It's a song.
Oh, Captain of Her Heart. I got you. Sorry, bad ears. Bad ears are snoring dogs.
I probably didn't need to type captain on all these ones.
Yeah, but if you don't, it just says things like Planet Albano, Kirk Marvel, America Kangaroo.
Famous captains. Let's see.
There we go. There we've
Oh,
got
Captain
our-
Han Solo. I forgot about that.
I didn't put him in because he's
Nobody's-
not really referred to as captain
Mm-mm.
in the movie.
Just once,
he's just
maybe.
Han Solo.
I think some bad guy says it to him once.
And he also that wasn't his rank as we came to know the character. That was his previous experience, but he was stripped of rank.
So we'll
So-
shuffle a bunch of times. Let me get my chat. There we go.
Oh, yeah, there's Captain and Tennille.
Yeah, G-Web scores the musical one right off the top. Damn.
Well, it's not Captain Tennille. It's Captain and Tennille.
Yeah, it's two people.
That's correct.
Danielle was the chick.
Captain
She was the
Daryl.
one keeping it together.
Daryl Dragon.
Yep. That goofy ass captain's hat. Oh my god.
So for our first matchup is Captain Planet versus Captain Stubing.
And we're just our individual criteria. Are you going to give us any guidance on this? Like the captain who wants to steer our future, or
I tend not to
Criteria.
really,
I
you know, you can judge these in any way you wish.
Okay.
So DJ, Captain Planet or
Um,
Captain Stubing?
Captain Stooping.
Gary?
Love, exciting and new.
Come aboard. We're expecting you.
Expecting you.
So you're
Captain Stubing.
you're voting for Gavin McLeod of the Clan McLeod?
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Cha-ching.
G-Webs?
Well, I never liked Love Boat, and one of the reasons I didn't like it is because that stupid captain guy. But I hate Captain Planet a lot, so I don't think it really matters because unless you vote for him, I'm gonna. Can I? I guess Stubing.
You can kick it out to the crowd, man. Take some of the pressure
There's
off.
no
He was-
point.
he was
It's not that
always-
big of a-
He
don't
was
think
Murray
anybody's
on
gonna-
Mary Tyler Moore also. So
I just don't
Yeah.
like that guy. But he's not going to win. Look at Captain America, Captain Kirk. Whoever we pick here is going to get clobbered in a second. So, I mean, I'll just pick him just so we move on.
He was in Kelly's Heroes.
You're right. He was radio man or something.
I don't remember that
So-
show. No.
and Captain Planet wasn't in any movies, or
No, he
I'm going to
wasn't. He
go
was part of
Captain
that tank crew.
Stubing because I am not a Captain Planet fan.
The only thing funny about Captain Planet was like somebody did a parody of Captain Planet. I think it was just for the internet. It might have been off us. I don't think it was Saturday Night Live, but it was maybe from a show. But I think it was just for the internet, and it was funnier than anything Captain Planet ever did.
Yeah, the one with
I don't remember if he was like older or something, or they summoned him like way years later or something, and he was just like ornery. I don't remember. I don't really remember. 'Cause I don't really know who Captain Planet is. But I thought that
Yeah.
part was
Because there was one with
a famous
John
actor.
Cheadle
Yeah, him.
as Captain Planet. So Captain Stubing sails on. So now Captain Kirk versus Captain America, the superhero. DJ.
Captain America.
Captain America. Gizzard.
Captain James Tiberius Kirk of the Starship Enterprise. Its
Kirk.
5-year mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
G-Wet.
Just to ensure Gizzard doesn't get to say that all again, I'll go with Captain America.
Fawcett
No.
voted yeah.
No, I'm going to go with Captain America anyway. I don't like Star Trek all that much, and I like the other Star Treks better than that first one.
Captain Scarlet said Captain Kirk. Oops. My chat jumped on me here. There we go.
Well, Captain America was a rank captain, but Captain Kirk was a commander of a ship captain. Like Captain America was commander of rank in the army of captain.
What? Yeah. Ron Wayne said Kirk. There's Bob Dabalina said Kirk was a real captain. Captain
That's
America
right.
was a comic book guy. So I'm going to vote for Kirk, which makes it a tie, but Kirk is going to move on because the chat is voting Kirk.
Ouch. Captain America is the only one of the few comic book guys with a gun.
I think I still have, that day that I showed the comic books, how many months ago, I still got the box sitting over here. But I had an issue with Captain America and Bucky. I think they're fighting Black Falcon. The one captain I would have loved to see a series from is Sulu. And when he captains the Excelsior, he kicks ass. I really liked how he played a captain. So now we've got Captain Marvel, the Shazam Captain Marvel, versus the Captain America bike, the chopper. DJ?
Get your motor running. Head out on the highway. Take Captain America the bike, please.
Gary?
Get to the chopper.
2. G-Webs.
I will also choose the motorcycle over that lamest, maybe one of the lamest superheroes that ever existed. Right up there next to Thor and all them stupid ones.
Ron Wayne said he agreed about Sulu series would have rocked. I'm gonna vote Captain Marvel. I grew up watching the TV show. I like the TV show. I just was never into Easy Rider. Basically, it's a cross-country drug deal. That's what the movie's about.
Yep. It is.
Yeah, but
I didn't like the motorcycle. That's what it is. That's why they drove across the country, was to do a drug deal.
Well, all right, they were doing some commerce, sure, but it was also about the narrow-mindedness of the cultures of the country.
Well, I'll give you that. But yeah.
Super
So
frustrating.
the motorcycle is moving on. Now we've got Captain Quint from Jaws against Captain Jack Sparrow. DJ.
Would
Where?
kick his ass.
Black eyes,
That
like
was a
doll's eyes.
He's yeah, that's the captain. You want to talk about going down the ship, and it was great characterization. I don't know the actor's name, but I really like that character.
He's a really good actor. He was that scene where he's talking about the Annapolis. It was shot in 2 different days because he was so drunk for the first part of it. They had to finish it on the second day. Gary?
I'm going to go with Captain Jack on this one.
1 for Captain Jack. G Webs.
I don't like Jaws as much as everybody else, but I can't stand that other movie. I've never even seen it, so the Jaws guy.
2 for Captain Quint. Gary, Robert Shaw is the actor.
Yes.
So
That movie
Farewell.
was that actually like a movie, or was that the ride at Disney and then they said, let's make a movie about it?
That was a movie first.
Oh, it was.
But so Captain Quint is moving on. Farewell and adieu to you young Spanish maidens. So now Captain Kangaroo versus Captain Crunch. Well, Captain Crunch. DJ.
Captain Kangaroo, Moose and Bunny. I love that show. Bob Keeshan was like grandpa kind of thing. It was a great show.
Gizzard.
Captain Kangaroo. For sure.
2 for Captain Kangaroo. G Webs.
Captain Crunch.
1 for Captain Crunch. Ron Wayne said Kangaroo. Captain Scarlet had said Sparrow for Jack Sparrow earlier. I'm going to go with Captain Kangaroo. I do enjoy Captain Crunch, but I grew up watching Captain Kangaroo.
Peanut Butter Crunch is better, but Captain Crunch is okay.
I like just the straight original. I don't like the Crunch Berries, just the straight Captain Crunch. So Captain Underpants, this matchup seems kind of almost obscene. Captain Underpants versus Captain Morgan. DJ?
I can't go with Captain Morgan, but I have no idea about the Underpants cat. But apparently he's going to rock out that way, so I'll go with that. Captain Underpants, please.
Captain Underpants. Gizzard.
Captain Morgan. I never heard of Captain Underpants.
That was a book series. My son, when he was in grade school, he read it. He liked it. G Webs.
The Morgan.
Captain Morgan.
Although I can't remember last time I drank rum.
Captain Scarlet said you can't beat good rum. I used to really like Captain Morgan until I got sick on it. Now I can't touch it. But I'm gonna vote.
I had the same thing happen. I have like a horrible couple of memories of Captain Morgan, and when those death belches come, you smell it again. No, spiced rum is not for me anymore, man.
Yeah. So now, I've got Captain Marvel in here twice.
Let me stack in the deck.
Gee,
know.
Will, you hanging out at a cricket convention?
I feel like there should be a federal law against this.
Give me a second. Let's see who I left out. Oh, Captain Nemo. That's who should be on here. So give me just a second here.
By the way, the Pirates of the Caribbean ride opened at Disneyland in '67, the first movie didn't get released until 2003, so the ride came first.
Well, I
I
was
thought maybe-
talking about Jaws.
Oh, I lit a
Oh,
fire.
were you talking?
I
thought
didn't know
you
there
were
was
talking
a
about Jaws.
Jaws thing in Disneyland.
Well, Universal, I think.
Universal Studios. Or
Oh,
So Captain Nemo versus Captain Hook. DJ?
Yeah, Captain Hook was a putz, so Captain Nemo.
Captain Nemo. Gary?
I'm going to go with Captain Hook.
Captain Hook. G-Webs.
I hate Peter Pan, so Nemo. And plus 40,000 Leagues was cool. After the fire, all the birds came out.
Ron Wayne said Nemo. I'm going to go... Guess I'll go with Nemo. I like the book. Then I'm okay with Peter Pan. But I guess I would... Yeah, I'm going to go Nemo. So Nemo is moving
The
on.
audience.
What's that?
Does that take it to the audience? Oh no.
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 Nope.
There was only one Captain Hook vote. So now Captain Ahab versus Captain Lou Albano. DJ.
Ahab.
Ahab. From hell's heart, I stab at thee. Gary.
I'm going to go with one who wasn't attached to Cyndi Lauper. Let's go with Captain Ahab here.
2 for Ahab. G-Webs.
Time after time, I hear that girls want to have fun. So I'm going to go with Captain Lou Albano.
1 for Albano.
I see your true colors are shining through.
Those are
Love
two really good songs, I think.
No doubt.
So Ron Wayne said Ahab. I'm going to say Ahab. I was never really a Captain Lou fan. So now we've got Captain Steubing versus Captain Kirk. DJ.
Kirk.
1 for Kirk. Is anybody going to vote for Steubing?
No.
I did in the first round.
G-Webs?
No, definitely not.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and move Kirk forward. Ron Wayne said Kirk. So the Captain America bike versus Captain Quint. DJ.
Captain Quint.
1 for Quint. Gary.
Quint.
2 for Quint. G-Webs.
I'm going to go with that bike.
1 for the bike. So I'm going to vote Quint. Captain Scarlet says Quint. And Ron Wayne said Squint.
When's the last time you watched Jaws?
Ooh, I have the DVD. It's been a while since I watched it. So Captain Kangaroo versus Captain Morgan. DJ.
Captain Kangaroo.
Captain Kangaroo. Gary?
Gonna have to go with Captain Kangaroo on this one.
2 for Captain Kangaroo. G-Webs?
If I remember right, Captain Kangaroo was up against Lancelot Link. So I'm going to go with Captain Morgan.
1 for Captain Morgan.
And you got a lot of kangaroo watching when there was a monkey.
Ron Wayne said Captain Kangaroo. I'm going to go Captain Kangaroo. So him and Mr. Green Jeans are going to move forward. So now we've got,
What if
Two
Captain
captains.
Kangaroo was drinking all that Captain Morgan? You guys just promoted a drunk Captain Kangaroo up.
so Captain Nemo versus Captain Ahab. DJ.
Captain Ahab.
Captain Ahab. Gary.
Nemo.
Nemo, 1 for Nemo. G-Webs.
I guess Nemo.
So we've got Ron Wayne said Ahab. Captain Scarlet said Ahab. Ooh. Wow, this is kind of a tough one. They're both good characters.
Kirk and Quint. There's so much
Nemo.
more Kirk, though. Oh, you're down there still.
Yeah, I'm still deliberating the Nemo versus Ahab.
They're very similar. There's more Nemo than Ahab, though.
Well, yeah, this is actually really tough decision. I'm gonna say Ahab. So that takes it out to the chat, and we've got Ahab out there, so Ahab's gonna move forward.
Is it Ahab love or is it Nemo hate?
I don't know. I like both characters for me, so. So now we've got Captain Kirk versus Captain Quint. DJ.
Captain Kirk.
1 for Captain Kirk. Gary?
Kirk could definitely take him in a fight, so I'm gonna go with Kirk.
Na 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 na. Gary,
He's dead,
Gizzard.
Jim. What?
G-Webs.
I think there's so much more Kirk that it has to win. He has to win. Probably gonna win the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna vote Kirk over Quint. Vanessa Kitty's out there. She said Star Trek always. Ron Wayne Kirk. Captain Scarlet Kirk. So now Captain Kangaroo versus Captain Ahab. DJ.
Captain Ahab.
1 for Ahab. Gary.
Two of the most important figures from my childhood, Captain Kangaroo and Captain Kirk. It has to happen, so I'm going with Captain Kangaroo.
Captain Kangaroo. G-Webs.
I dislike reading, especially about a guy who's obsessed with a fish, more than I hated watching Captain Kangaroo. So I'm going with Captain Kangaroo.
2 for Captain Kangaroo. So I'm going to say Captain Kangaroo. Captain Scarlet said the whale fella.
What was Captain
Ron Wayne said
Kangaroo
Ahab.
anyway?
What's that?
You have a train? No, that's Mr. Rogers, right? I'm trying to remember who Mr. Kangaroo even was.
I don't know. He had a moose
had
sidekick,
puppets
Mr.
and
Green
stuff, right?
Jean sidekick, dropped ping pong balls on the moose.
I can't remember.
He was originally a clown on it, wasn't he? Like on Howdy Doody or something like that. He was a clown
Oh,
on
he
there.
was from the 50s? Like from
Yeah.
one of them. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But he did stuff like Bozo or somebody, right? Like he had like a bunch of, or like Mr. Rogers, he like had like different things he would do each week because he was every day, right? Like he had different things
Right.
he would do. Yeah. I just can't remember any of the things he did.
He had this coat with great big pockets on it. I remember that. It's
I
kind of
remember
his
Mr. Green Jeans, but I don't know who that is. Just some guy with green pants, I guess. It's my friend with green pants.
Oh, so now Captain Kirk
Those were
versus
simpler days.
Captain Kangaroo. DJ.
One more time, please.
Captain Kirk versus Captain Kangaroo.
Captain Kirk.
Captain Kirk. Gary.
Well, one I watched every day when I was a young toddler, and the other one I watched every day when I was like in junior high school. So, but well, I'm gonna have to go with Kirk. I hate to do it though. Sorry, Captain Kangaroo.
Captain Kirk. Gee webs.
I'm going with Kirk, and I do not care because I didn't watch Captain Kangaroo that much.
Kirk. Ron Wayne said Kirk. Captain Scarlet said Kirk. Yeah, I'm gonna go Kirk. And I knew Captain Kirk was
The
kind
only
of
person that could have fought with Captain Kirk is Captain Crunch if everybody was hungry or something.
Captain Crunch didn't even make the bracket. Norier did. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like in a different bracket, if it would have come out to Kirk and Captain Crunch somehow, I think he's the only one with that kind of weight. Maybe Captain America, but he beat Captain America in the first round.
Yeah,
Anyway, I'm just saying, I think Captain Kirk would have pretty much won this one no matter what. Like, he's the biggest captain. He's in every respect, he's going to win.
I was pretty sure he was the favorite. Sometimes I'll leave out a favorite just so it doesn't happen. But a bracket about captains, you have to have Captain Kirk. I just couldn't leave him off.
He should have had Picard in there too, so he could have had an adversary.
Well, he would have beat Picard.
But then you would have had to go, start adding them. That's where it came from, was a Star Trek one, right? An all Star Trek one.
Yeah, I didn't want to do an all Star Trek one, just because I would rank him Kirk, Cisco, then Picard, then Sulu, maybe Pike.
And you just don't have any females in there because of your sexist, or
I was going to say, Uhura also commanded a starship later, as I recall.
I would not put Janeway on the list.
Or at the bottom for sure.
As a captain, Mrs. Columbo does not make the list. She is plucky. You can't be plucky as a Star Trek captain.
You can't also stomp all over the Prime Directive and
Well,
other things. Yeah,
They all do.
you're right.
They all talk about the Prime Directive and then immediately break it.
No, it's a directive, not a.
Well, it's punishable by death.
How
By
about
breaking.
Cisco? Where would Cisco fit in here?
I put Cisco as number 2.
I haven't watched enough of the shows to know where all these other ones are. Wow. That's a little tiny
Yes.
dog doing that.
I really like Deep Space Nine, but we've talked about it before. I loved Babylon 5, which Star Trek Deep Space Nine is a ripoff of Babylon 5.
I just got done
direct
watching all
ripoff.
of Lower Decks. You ever watched Lower Decks yet?
No.
I just recently got done watching all of them again.
I liked it a lot. 5th season.
Ron Wayne said Voyager never existed in my book. I liked Chakotay, and I liked Ensign Kim and whoever his buddy was. Their relationship I thought was good. Other than that, I didn't like the series. I couldn't stand 7 of 9.
What?
Couldn't stand Janeway.
You're sexist.
No, she's there for tight clothes and big tits. She was not a good character.
I feel like at the time, the 90s were awesome, but they're a little lame now that we have the internet. That's all. But and then now that we have things like CGI, they were, inventing that back then. So it was cutting edge at the time. We thought stuff was really cool.
Garage Guy said Captain Lorca from Discovery was the best badass wartime captain. I watched the first half of the first episode of Discovery and refused to watch any more of it. I couldn't
Which
stand
one's
it.
Discovery? I gotta go look.
The ones with the stupid looking Klingons and
But let's not forget who defeated the Borg. Wasn't even a captain.
This one. Oh, this one? This is the one that does the crossover with Lower Decks.
yeah.
It's a goofy ass one. Wait, is this the one that starts off with the mushrooms?
Yeah, there's somewhere in there. The Mushroom Drive.
Yeah,
Spore
see, I
Drive.
like that one. I really like the Spore Drive.
Uh,
Yeah, whatever. I think it's cool. It's
They
kind
had-
of like a little bit.
oh, was it Discovery?
If the universe is infinitely big, then there has to be infinitely number of weird opportunities and weird things to have happened. So why wouldn't there be giant, like, I don't know what to call, like, entities or organics that can do stuff at a massive scale? Like, I think that would happen. Like, if there's infinite possibilities, then there's going to be like space whales, which is kind of like,
Jesus Christ, space whale. Garage Guy said Lorca didn't appear until Discovery, until the 3rd episode of Discovery.
I think there's too many good girls in it, and you're sexist about Star Trek. You have to see not like a certain ratio of girls in Star Trek or something.
No, I'm not sexist. Uhura was a great character.
Yep.
And well, I was of Deep Space Nine. I will say, even though I really like it. It is kind of where the downturn for Star Trek starts. It was a reaction to fans complaining that Star Trek was too upbeat all the time, but that's what Star Trek was. It was a hopeful view of the future. Well, Deep Space Nine is where it starts to turn and become not dystopian, but really pessimistic.
Isn't there like a war or something that they start in that one?
Well, they fight the Dominion.
Yeah. See, I missed all that because I never watched that one, so I don't even know about those enemy. And they show up in other ones, Discovery and Lower Decks and stuff. Well, there's one thing you've ever seen. You never watched one episode of Lower Decks?
No.
In the opening credits, you've seen it, Gizzard?
No.
Oh, DJ's seen it though. In the opening credits of it, it's like it's a comedy, right? So it's making fun of the fact that they're not the what do you call it? Like the first contact type of ships. They're second, not even they're trying to be second contact ships, and then it's about the characters who are like the night shift, not really the night shift, but like working on the lower decks. They're not even the away teams or nothing, and then they're also ensigns. So anyway, at the beginning of it, as like a joke or whatever, part of the funny part of it is there's like a giant space battle happening, and they show up at the space battle, and then they see this giant space battle happening, and then they book it out of there, and it's like, you know, kind of like the Monty Python or something, like, you know, like, let's get out of here. And then in the space battle, it's a Borg ship fighting a this, fighting a that, fighting a this, fighting the crystalline entity, I think from like one of the first Star Treks ever. And the thing is, there's so many references in that picture that I have no idea what they are. So I'm wondering if somebody who knows Star Trek could see that picture and figure out what all the like references are. DJ, you know what I'm talking about?
Only barely, man.
It's like the
And I'm
last
starting.
scene of the opening credits of the cartoon. They show up at this big space battle, and then they're like, and they book out of there. And the space battle, like I just noticed it because I was watching the episodes, like season 3, season 4, season 5, and every season they add more to that battle. And I'm like, well, I know what they're doing here. They're taking all the bad guys in all of Star Trek, like all the ultimate bad guys, and having them in this giant battle. And then they've lost me. I know what a Borg cube is, and I know what a Klingon ship is, but I don't know what like 3/4 of the stuff in this scene are. So there's this crystalline entity. You know what I'm talking about? The big piece of crystal
Yeah.
in space. And then what's the giant green hand that's grabbing a Borg cube? Like, I don't know what that reference is.
Me either.
Okay.
And I didn't realize that they were compounding it from season to season like that and adding more into it.
I only noticed because there's like all of a sudden there's a giant green hand on the Borg cube, and I'm like, oh, that must be from the whole like season or something of Star
It's
Trek.
Apollo. Yeah,
Oh, what is it?
Apollo.
Who is
It's the
that?
hand of Apollo.
What is that?
It's from a Star Trek episode. This giant hand grabs the ship, and they end up being transported to this planet, and they basically end up having to deal with Greek gods who survived and moved on to another planet.
Okay. Well, then that's why because I knew it had to be from one of the things I hadn't seen before.
It's from Memory Alpha. Oh, let's see. Yeah, Memory Alpha. Is that the name of it?
Mourning for Adonis.
Ron Wayne said the giant green hand was from the original series. Who's mourning for Adonis?
That's correct.
Who mourns for Adonis? Well, I think like I said, I haven't really watched Discovery or whatever the Pike one is, but the Orville I thought was doing a better job of being Star Trek than Star Trek was.
Well,
it's not perfect, but I really like the Orville series. And then when they moved to Hulu, they slightly changed the name to something else, but the Orville is really, I think they did Seth, what's his face, really liked Star Trek. And then he has some of the people in that show are from Star Trek.
I can't remember if I watched it or not because I really don't like that dude. But then everybody I think said it was so good, so I think I tried. I think I did try to watch it. How many seasons of it is there?
Ooh, I'm not sure. It's from 2017 to 2022.
3 seasons, it looks like. I don't remember watching that much of it. I'll try again. You've watched 3 seasons of it already?
I watched all that there is of it, so. Is there only 3 seasons?
That's what it says on my thing.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess it was only 3 seasons. Yeah, they didn't renew it for a 4th season. That sucks. Orville New Horizons. Garage Guy saying that's the name change. Ron
Oh, well,
Williams.
it could be more than 4 seasons then, or more than 3 seasons if they change the name and change the thing. It might just be 3 seasons of Orville and then more seasons of that new name, right?
Well, I don't think so. Yeah, it's only 3 seasons because Hulu didn't renew the show.
Oh, I thought it's not. You said I thought it's the way you said it. I thought it maybe moved from one network to another.
What did it was on Fox, and then the 3rd season was on Hulu, but then Hulu didn't pick it up for a 4th season.
Okay.
Garage Guy saying COVID hit and the actor's contract ended, so season 3 was the last.
Also, wasn't there like some kind of writer's strike or something that affected a bunch of things? Like all
Could
at the
be.
same
I'm
time.
not sure.
I don't remember really.
Oh, have you watched Babylon 5? G-Wes?
I want to say no, but I probably have tried. But I definitely didn't retain any of it if I did. Let me try again. Is that Bruce Braxleitner or whatever?
He comes in the 2nd season because the original captain, he actually in real life developed schizophrenia, paranoid schizophrenia. So he started having mental problems, and the show creator said he would hold the show. He would basically put the show on pause until he got better. And he's like, no, you can't do that. You got to keep doing the show. He comes back later on. You know, they work his character back into the script, but Boxleitner comes in to replace him.
Oh,
And it's good. It's good up until like the last season when Boxleitner becomes president. To me, it's kind of a little weak, but I really like the show because I think it was 5 seasons, and that was designed to be basically a 5-season show for the complete story arc. But he had shopped it around, and whoever had the Deep Space Nine, he shopped it to them. They didn't pick it up, but then stole the story and made Deep Space Nine, which is the exact same story. But I like them
Isn't
both.
Babylon 5? Wait, the Star Trek one. They're sitting in front of a hole
A
or something.
wormhole. Yeah.
In Babylon 5, it says that it's a 5-mile long space station located in neutral space. So it doesn't book around, it just sits there?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like an island, really. It's like a 5-mile long space island that can move around if it needs to.
Garage Guy said Babylon 5 was better than DS9, more adventuresome. The Shadow War was awesome, and the Civil War with Earth was great. Garibaldi was the best character. I liked Garibaldi, but what's his name? Now I gotta look it up. Chekhov, whoever played Chekhov, his character from the Psi Corps, he was really good.
I got nothing else to do, like nothing else to watch. There's no the new coming out or anything, so I'll put it in my playlist here. But if I can't handle it, I'll only watch as much as I can handle. That's the puppy. I can poke him if you want. I'll wake up. You seen
Bester? The character Bester was really good because he's a bad guy, but he's actually a little sympathetic as you kind of learn his backstory.
People on the screen instead of the bracket. The bracket's over.
Sorry. Well, I
don't know who
wasn't even looking at the screen.
There's the guy with
There
the
we go.
mask, and there's a bunch of people, but it doesn't look like it's a bunch of costumes and stuff.
Yeah, Walter Koenig. Really good as Bester.
There's a movie. There was only a movie, but it's called like, dang, I can't think of the name of it. It's like something in the somethings, and it's about a satellite that gets so big, and then they eventually have to push it out of Earth's orbit.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Vascular or something in the City of 1,000 Planets or something.
Yeah, I liked it. It wasn't great.
No, the movie was weird and kind of shitty, but I think it would be cool if that City of 1,000 Planets or whatever, Voltron City of 1,000 Planets, that was the scene of a bunch of movies. Like I want to see way more movies about, like, you know, that whole
Valerian
Yeah.
in the City of.
But that was just the doofus. Like it's really about. I'm talking about the City of 1,000 Planets.
One of the problems I had with that movie is
The girl.
the aliens that are hiding in the city. Their plot is exactly the same as, God, what the hell are the Space Smurfs movie?
Space Smurfs.
Yeah, it was the largest grossing movie when it came out. Unobtainium bullshit.
Oh yeah, with that one show where they have that tree of life or whatever.
Yeah. Their story is exactly the same as that movie, which that movie stole that story because Valerian was first, I think. But I hate that movie so much, it ruined Valerian for me.
And Gabriel is saying it's not as good as Fifth Element. No, I don't. I'm not saying. I mean, it's a weird movie. I kind of like it, but I'm not saying the movie's so good. I just mean I like the concept of that City of 1,000 Planets, a giant satellite that has like big crystal areas and big gaseous areas and big liquid areas and then big computer areas.
Avatar, thank you. Jason J. Avatar. I hate Avatar.
That would be a cool show. And it sounds like that's what Babylon and what Deep Space are, is like movies about what it would be like living on a big thing in space that was created.
And the special effects in Valerian still look really good.
Oh hell yeah. And we're pretty close. I mean, if what's his face wants to go to Mars so bad, like he'll probably go to Mars, right? Or he'll try real hard. But as soon as we get up into space, a bunch of people are going to book it to just be on a big blob of whatever they create, and then they're going to go find like a meteor, or they're going to catch asteroids and shit. And they're probably going to figure out how to like put a net up right behind an asteroid and collect a bunch of diamonds or gas or gold or whatever. Go back to Earth and be billionaires.
Ron Wayne said he watched Star Crash all the way through last week. He'll never get that time back. I don't know that.
Is that a series?
I don't know.
No, it's a movie. It's horrible.
M. Gabriel's out there.
Well, Fuss, I'm going to dip, man. It's good to be on panel. It's been a hot minute since I've been able to do it, and I appreciate you offering me the opportunity and continuing the program. So everybody be safe, have fun, carry your guns, and I'm out.
Don't be a stranger.
Yep, good to see you, man.
Take it easy. I feel like there should be some kind of federal authority to keep DJ in here for the whole show.
Oh, I went to the range on Thanksgiving morning. I reloaded some 450 Bushmaster, went out and fired it. All worked out. Still have all my fingers. Shot the Kimber. The more I shoot the 1911s, the more I like them.
Oh my goodness, Star Crash is from 1978. It is a pretty horrid one. I've seen it. It was pretty tough to watch. If you want to watch one that's pretty tough, Star Crash.
I don't know. There's a good chance I've probably seen it, but I don't.
You may have.
I don't recall it. It's
got these two dudes are the coolest. It's I found it by doing a series of robot ones, and there's these. It's what do you call it? Claymation. There's these claymation robot guards that I found it for. So they're kind of like well, you know what claymation is, except it's metal robots the size of humans fighting humans really poor. With swords. Because of course robots are going to have
Christopher Plummer and David Hasselhoff in it. I've seen the poster for it before. I don't recall if I've actually watched it.
Oh, I watched it, and yeah, it's pretty. It's like a cheaper version of Flash Gordon.
Oh, when I was up at the range, the guy that I mentioned a while ago, that when I was leaving the range, he was walking up the road. I ran into him again. when I was at the rifle range, he pulls up, sits in his car for a little bit, comes out, walks over, and the Bushmaster is loud. Everybody, anytime I shoot it, everybody talks about how loud it is. But he kind of walks over, said, "Yeah, it's a loud one, isn't it?" Hey, yeah, it's loud. We chit chat a little bit. He walks down the line. I'm the only one there. Walks down the line. We chit chat a little more. He gets back in his car and then leaves. I'm not sure if he's all there. Seems like a nice enough guy, though.
It's hard to say. Maybe he doesn't like people looking at him. Maybe he's got something he thinks is secret. Maybe he figures you don't like people around or something. Like, could have figured out he had something else to do. Maybe he only had a certain amount of time and he spent it farting around with you, so he had to book it out of there to get back to work or something. People sometimes show up to do like their lunch hour.
Oh, I think he is on the board for the range.
Oh, well, then maybe he's just some sort of like, I'm going to snoop around, and you didn't need to be snooped anymore.
Yeah, it could be. There was at least one other person. At one of the other ranges out there, I could hear him shooting a pistol. I don't know if they were at the black powder range, or there's an action pistol range, and couldn't tell exactly which one they were at, but I could hear him shooting. Ron White said he probably went home and added me to his list. Could be. But I was a little nervous about the Bushmaster because, like the 9mm and the 40, you're looking at 3.5 grains. 357, you get up to 5 grains. 450 Bushmaster's 37 grains of black powder. I mean, it was
Black
there wasn't
powder?
no, sorry, gunpowder, not black powder.
Holy crap! What are you doing over there? But yeah,
Getting
that's a lot.
crazy.
Well, I don't even think a shotgun is that much.
But it was fun, and like I said, came home with all my eyeballs and fingers, and so haven't
12.
Are you
Still
enjoying
haven't.
reloading still then?
I am. I added in the Lee powder measure. So because I was using a trickler, and it was kind of a pain to sit there and trickle slowly. So it's nice to have the powder measure so I can get close and then use the trickler, for that last 0.2 grains.
And then there were 2.
Uh-oh. He's had enough. Puppy got tired of being poked.
Yeah. Nope. Cords. He said he'd be back.
Oh. So I've reloaded 9, 40, 357, the 450. I've got dice for 30-06, but I haven't done any of those yet. I want to do 350 Legend and 10, but I can do the 10 with the same dies as the 40.
You should bring some of your 40 to Thunder on the Prairie. That'd be cool.
I don't know. I was thinking about that. That if I take somebody to the range, I'd probably still use factory ammo just as a safety measure. Because, I am careful and basically doing, like when I measure the powder, I'm doing 1 by 1. So I'm not, so I see I'm doing 1 charge, and I've got my press is the Lee Classic turret, but I took the center rod out, so I'm hand turning it, so it basically turns it into a single stage, just to kind of slow everything down while I'm still learning. Because I had the first batch of 9 that I took up, I had one that was overcharged and it blew the primer out. Kind of startled me a little bit, and so I don't know if I want to have other people shoot my reloads, just cause.
So I figured we better get another animal in the chat real quick because there's a rule.
Can you make him snore?
Go to sleep, George. I can make him purr.
Well, we'll give G-Webs a minute here, and then there he is. Is y'all all the way back?
I gotta see if my things are. I guess I'm probably back, but the wrong devices still aren't connected. But
Yeah, it's not your regular mic,
I don't know.
but I can hear you.
I was gonna take off for the night, but it turns out somebody gave the federal government the authority to tell me to come back, so I had to come back. No choice.
Warhammer's out there. Is it cool catching it live?
A lot of people showing up tonight.
Yeah, but
There's something to be said for having an overnight show, middle of the night, talking about guns and captains. I guess.
oh, yeah, I was just saying, I've done a reloaded 940, 357, and the 450 Bushmaster. I want to do 10 because I've got the 40 dice can do both 10 and 40. 38 special because 357 can do both. 30 at 6. I'd like to do that eventually. And 350 Legend, I think, are the ones. But I still consider myself as learning what I'm doing. So, but I'm
Well, I
enjoying
guess
it.
something I don't know where to speak to because I don't know what's listening to me. But something that when you started saying that, something that came to mind that if I was starting over or giving advice to somebody, are you writing down your recipes? Are you writing down your experiments and your a lot of for what I would do is I would toggle. I want to find the perfect load for this, so I would, this one up, one down, one in the middle, and then I would see what I liked, and then I would move it a little bit, adjust it. Are you keeping track of that in like a spiral notebook or something, or like on the line?
I do. Right now, I've got notebooks for each of them.
That's something that I think a lot of people don't think about, and then 6 months later, you come back to it, and you're like, oh crap, do I got to start from zero? Like, I don't remember any of this. I remember what I did, but I don't remember the results. So having it written down, I think, is good if you ever have to walk away from it for any length of time and come back.
Yeah, I'm not super detailed right now. I've just got basically what bullet, how much of what powder, and the overall length on the cartridge is what I've been writing down. I am not super concerned about the accuracy of each round right now because I'm still just getting used to loading rounds. So as long as they go off how they're supposed to go off, I'm happy right now. There's no extra bang to what I'm doing. But so, Gary,
Yes.
is there anything you and George would like to plug?
Oh, sure. If you're a channel member of mine, we have a members only chat at 8 o'clock p.m. on Wednesday. And then my weekly live stream of Foul Territory Friday night at 9 o'clock p.m. Central. Everybody's invited to that. We'd love to have you, and thanks for having me.
Yes, G-Webs, I did buy a sword. Because I had the ones I was looking at that were discounted a little bit. They discounted them a lot of it.
Oh, really? How much is a lot?
They're $100.
Well, what were they discounted? What were they discounted before? Like 100?
Well, they were like 149, 139, 149. Something like that.
That's down from what?
Oh.
That was the discount before it was 149? Because I thought the discount was 149 down to 100. I'm like, well, that's a good deal, but
I thought they were.
You're saying they're like $300 swords that were already
No. They're like basically $150 sword.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. That they were like 50% off, or what is that, 30% off?
So I couldn't pass it up.
Yeah, it definitely is. Are you going to start chopping things with it?
Probably not.
Never.
It was
I've
just-
had some that are nice metal, but they're not real swords. If I got one of them, I would want to buy a bunch of wicker or whatever it is, straw, and start slicing it because it can actually do it.
Let me see if I can find the one. Oh,
Have you considered buying a sword ever, Gizzard?
I'm not sure where I'd put it, but it'd be cool.
This is the one I bought.
And it can come apart.
What's that?
It should be able to come apart, right?
I would think so. But it's because I've always wanted one with a real hamon that. Let's see if you can see it on that blade, that wavy line.
And is that because of the way they built it, or they just added that?
Well, because for the differential heat treatment, they'll put clay on it, and that line is the line where the clay stops.
Yeah, but I'm saying, is that like an actual line from clay, and they put it in those
Yeah.
in the water, and that's why it's got its bend like that and everything?
Yeah, that's what it says.
Yeah. So for $100 to have an actual sword that like quenched, cured, or whatever that would be, I don't know what that word is, what they call that, but that would be amazing. It's pretty neat. Because I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
everyone I have is just stamped out of a piece of metal in that shape, and then they color it to make it look like that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're not actually forging any of these swords.
Pretty sure it's not folded steel, but still, it's for $100. It's plenty good enough to fondle and look at.
It says hand forged right there.
Yeah, but I doubt they're folding it for $100.
That's
Well,
true.
for 150, whatever the normal price is.
Yeah, it means there's a guy standing there at the machine instead of a robot, I guess.
Yeah. So hopefully,
Yeah, very
I think it's supposed to get here next week.
Yeah, they didn't fart around, but they also didn't send it overnight. Like it got in the mail pretty quick, but it also took a minute to get here, from what I remember. But I also bought my stuff on clearance, so I don't expect them to send it.
Yeah, before I found the sale, I had mentioned to my wife that I wanted to buy a sword, and it'd probably be like $150. And she goes, "Why do you tell me these things? Well, you know I'm going to say no, and then you're just going to do it anyways."
What if you buy your sword for your kid and then it doesn't count?
Well, that's the problem. She's afraid of the kids getting the sword.
The way you cure a kid from having any interest in a sword is you buy him a sword, then you make him do chores with it or something, and then the kid will never want to touch the sword. Did you go out and cut things with the sword today? And then do the garbage? Wake up, it's Saturday. You got to go do the sword stuff today. Dang it. I don't want to touch the sword today. All right.
Yeah, they've got swords forged out of meteorites too. Those are like $10,000, $15,000. A little outside my price range. But so is there anything you want to plug, G-Bucks?
Nah, thanks for the hosting, and it's good to have a show in the overnights. Appreciate it. Thanks everybody for showing up. That's the whole point. We're not just sitting here in a BS. It's like we have something to do with the interactivity. It's pretty cool. Thanks for everybody for showing up.
I do appreciate everybody that was out there in the chat, chatting it up. And if you were out there and didn't say anything, don't be afraid to speak up. I appreciate you being there. And if you watch this in replay, leave a comment, whatever we talk about, agree with, disagree with, about the national reciprocity. What's your favorite captain? Do you own a sword? anything like that, let me know. I read all the comments and I do really appreciate them. And so, other than, nope, wrong button. Other than that, hope everybody has a good rest of the night and go do something good.